Good morning. In this mission, we will practice the startup procedure for the A-10C. There's a lot to cover, so feel free to take a break by pressing the pause key at any point. It will be important for you to follow my instructions to the letter. Do not jump ahead and start mashing buttons and throwing switches. I will guide you toward the desired controls with highlights and by referring to the front dash and left and right consoles. You can pan around the cockpit using your view control commands to locate the switches. If you find it hard to hear my instructions over the background noise, exit the mission and turn down the world and in-cockpit sound sliders to about 50% in the options menu. As described in the flight manual, a pre-flight check is normally performed prior to startup to ensure the aircraft is configured properly. However, for the purposes of this lesson, we'll begin the startup sequence with the aircraft's initial configuration set as it would be at the start of all missions. The startup procedure will consist of initiating electrical power, starting the APU, followed by the left and right engines, and finally powering up and preparing all essential avionics. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin. First, set the battery switch on the electrical panel on the right side console to power. This will provide power to the DC buses and the APU. Follow the highlight at the bottom right corner of the screen to locate the switch. Good. Now set the inverter switch on the same panel to standby. This will allow AC power to be supplied to numerous aircraft instruments. It will also provide power to the engine igniters. With electrical power now running, we can take a moment to test the caution and warning systems to make sure that we will receive warnings in case something goes wrong during startup. To do this, press and hold the lamp test button on the auxiliary lighting panel on the left console. Take a look around the cockpit while you hold down the button to make sure that all of the caution lights are functional and you can hear an audible warning tone. Everything looks good. Now let's test the fuel indicator to make sure it's functional and accurate. The fuel indicator is located on the right side of the front dash. When tested, the two needles should point to 3,000 pounds, and the digital tonalizer readout should be around 6,000 pounds. On the oxygen regulator panel, set the supply switch to on, and check for oxygen flow to be indicated in the flow window. Press the Oxy-In Test Oxygen Indicator Test button to test the oxygen remaining indicator. Watch the Oxy-Low caution light on the caution lights panel to turn on when the indication falls below 0.5 liters. We also need to power the radios to communicate with ATC and mission assets. Set the VHF AM frequency mode dial to TR, transceiver. Now repeat the process for the VHF FM radio. Set the UHF radio function dial to main to power the UHF radio. We are now ready to begin the engine start sequence. But let's first close the canopy to minimize the noise. Right-click and hold the canopy control switch to lower the canopy, or press left control plus C on the keyboard. Starting the engines will take several minutes and require a few steps. First, we need to provide power to the boost pumps of the left and right wing tanks and left and right fuselage tanks. You will find the 4 switches on the fuel system control panel toward the top of the left console. Set all 4 switches to the up position. Before starting the engines, we need to start the auxiliary power unit, APU, which will generate bleed air used to start the main engines. As you start the APU, be ready to monitor the APU exhaust gas temperature, EGT, and RPM gauges on the engine monitoring instrument's EMI panel located on the bottom right of the front dash. Go ahead and set the APU start switch to start. Now let's return to the electrical panel and set the APU generator switch to the power position. This will allow the APU generator to power the aircraft and relieve the battery drain. However, the battery needs to remain on as a backup electrical source. While on the electrical panel and in preparation of the engine start sequence, let's also set the left and right AC generators up to power. Once the engines are started, they will begin to turn the AC generators and take over from the APU to provide electrical power. Okay, time to crank up the left engine. This is a very simple process initiated simply by moving the left throttle from off to idle or pressing the right Alt plus home keys. This will automatically start fuel flow, use bleed air from the APU to turn the fans, and then ignite the fuel in the combustion chamber. As the engine spools up, scan the engine monitoring instruments panel to watch the engine interstage turbine temperature, ITT, engine core speed, fan speed, and fuel flow gauges. Watch for the core fan RPM to stabilize around 60% when idling on the ground. You will also notice the left hydraulic system's pressure begin to build. This will normalize between 2,800 and 3,350 psi. Once the left engine is running normal and stable, press the spacebar key to proceed. We'll now repeat the process for the right engine. Once again, the engine is started by moving the throttle from off to idle, or in this case, pressing the right control plus home keys. As with the left engine, monitor the instrumentation as the right engine spools up. Also watch the right hydraulic system pressure to normalize. Once you have both engines running normally at idle power, you can do a flight controls check to test the responsiveness of the controls to stick and rudder input. Test the speed brakes and flaps. Press the spacebar key to proceed once everything checks out.
Yeah, get some. Yeah, get some. Oh, I got fucking rockets. Oh, I'm definitely taking off.
With both engines now running and powering the left and right AC generators, we can turn off the APU generator on the electrical panel and then the APU itself on the throttle panel. Okay, now we'll power up the control display unit, CDU, and the embedded GPS INS IGE systems. This will begin the automated built-in test, BIT, and alignment processes for the navigation system, which you can monitor on the CDU display on the right console.
Come on! Shit!
Uncage the Standby Attitude Indicator, SAI, on the front dash. To do this, turn the SAI cage knob to the left by rolling your mouse wheel down over the knob. Once uncaged, roll the wheel back to set the SAI aircraft indicator level on the horizon. Turn on the multifunction color displays, MFCDs, by left-clicking twice on the power switch for each display. While we are waiting for the CDU bit and IGI alignment to complete, we can continue the startup sequence. Turn on the Central Interface Control Unit, CICU, on the Armament HUD Control Panel, AHCP, on the front dash. This will provide essential user interface controls to numerous aircraft systems, including the left and right multifunction color displays, MFCDs. The MFCDs are now on. In a few moments, they will display the Data Transfer System, DTS page, which we will use to upload navigation and weapon configuration data saved on the data cartridge from the mission planner. Now, set the Integrated Flight and Fire Control Computer, IFF-CC, switch to the test position by left-clicking once. The IFF-CC provides weapon release calculations, attitude control, and HUD indication. In test mode, the system will run a series of automated bits, which you can monitor on the HUD. Press the ENT Enter button on the upfront controller, UFC, to initiate the IFF-CC bit. This will take approximately 1 minute. While waiting for the IFF-CC to undergo the bit and the IGI system to finish aligning, let's set up our flight control systems. Set the left and right yaw and pitch SAS channels on the SAS panel on the left console to on. Now press the TO Trim button to set the flight controls for takeoff trim. Let's upload data from the data cartridge. Select Load All on the left MFCD by pressing the Option Select button 10. The DTS will take about 15 seconds to transfer the data from the cartridge to the jet. During this time, all the asterisks accompanying each data type on the left side of the displays will disappear. When all the asterisks reappear, the data has been transferred successfully. Once the data is loaded, set the right MFCD to display CDU data by pressing OSB 13. This way you don't have to take your head down to check CDU indication. The IFF-CC bit is now complete. As you can see on the HUD, the exit function is currently pointed to by the HUD cursor. Press the Enter key on the UFC to exit this HUD menu. The IFF-CC is now displaying the ground bit menu on the HUD, where you can run a number of other bits if necessary. To exit out of this menu, press the Select Rocker key on the UFC down repeatedly until the HUD cursor points to exit again. Then press Enter to exit this menu. The IFF-CC is now displaying the main menu on the HUD, where you can set up various indication and weapon release parameters. Let's take the IFF-CC out of test mode and set it to on by left-clicking the IFF-CC switch one more time. Let's set the left MFCD to the Tactical Awareness Display TAD page by pressing OSB 15. Now load up the flight plan. Right-click the steer point switch on the AAP panel to set it to flight plan. This will set the flight route to appear on the TAD display. With our flight and navigation systems ready, we can prepare some of the combat systems for the mission. Set the countermeasure signal processor mode switch on the CMSP panel to standby. For a combat sortie, you may want to review or create some countermeasures programs, but that is for another lesson. Now set the 4 system select switches to on, middle position. Next, set the Joint Tactical Radio System, JTRS switch on the AHCP to on. This will provide power to the Situational Awareness data link, saddle. With the IGI aligned, let's select CDU nav mode by pressing OSB 9 on the right MFCD. Select the EGI as the primary navigation system on the Navigation Mode Select panel. Next, arm the Enhanced Attitude Control EAC switch on the Low Altitude Safety and Targeting Enhancement LASTE panel on the left console. Note this switch is hidden under the throttle, so you may have to shift your view position to see it, but it is still clickable with the mouse. Turn on the radar altimeter. At this point, we are ready to taxi to the runway. Set the anti-skid switch to on. Now turn on the nose wheel steering by pressing the pinky button on the control stick or insert on the keyboard. Click on the yellow handle to arm the ejection seat.
Oh, forgot about that. Who needs to?
Taxiing out to the runway requires tower permission, so we will end our startup lesson here. Tomorrow you're going up. See you then.
J. Oh, no. You're going up. Ah! Oh, it's on. Oh, this is quite a song. Yep. Oh yeah. Oh, it's on! Come on, you bucket! What happened to my fucking rockets? I'm at the end! Come on! Woo! 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 Let's do this. Ah, at least I took off. Ah. Yeah, I can't change that. I haven't figured it out yet. Blah. Now I gotta learn how to arm my weapons. Oh, challenge accepted. I see it. Oh, hell yeah. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna...
Altitude, altitude.
Shut up! Oh, here we go. Here we go. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Nope. Nope. I am going to fly underneath that damn thing. Oh, shit, yes. Let's do this. Let's do that. I can do this. Damn it. I took off. I started it. I am going to fly underneath. I'm going to fly underneath this bridge.
Altitude, altitude.
You shut up, Betty. I need to go lower. 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 Wait a minute. Oh, come on, come on. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Yes! Oh, shit! Fuck! Well, briefing. Select. Alright. Yeah, well, I flew under that fucking bridge, though. Alright, let's, ooh. Yes, let's do this. Oh. Googly moogly. Oh, hey. Somebody's following me. Yay. Oh, man. I fucking love this game. Oh. Yes, let's do this, bitches.
Welcome to the training flight on the employment of unguided rockets and the GAL-8A gun against stationary and mobile ground targets. In this lesson, we'll review the HUD indications for gun and rocket employment, and then you'll have some range time to try a few strafing runs. Before taking off, let's configure some settings for the sortie. First, set the IFC to test mode by right-clicking once so we can set up some gun options. Use the Select Rocker key to scroll down to the Weapons page and press the Enter key to select it.
Weapons. Enter.
Now press the Enter key once again to enter the 30mm page. Press the Data Rocker key to set the ammo type to combat medics, because we are carrying live ammo today.
CM.
Then scroll down to the min out setting and use the data rocker key again to set the minimum altitude to 500 feet. When finished, scroll down to store and press enter to exit this menu. Exit the previous menu using the exit line.
Oh, shit.
You can now set the IFC switch back to on by left clicking once.
Oh, shit.
Let's also take a look at the DSMS to review our payload. Press OSB 14 on the left MFCD. We are carrying a total of 4 LAU-68 rocket pods. These are loaded on stations 2 and 3 and 9 and 10. Let's adjust some release parameters. Press OSB 1 to enter the profile main page. Press OSB 19 to select the profile, and then press OSB 3 to enter the profile control page. Press the OSB 6 rotary to set the release type to ripple pairs. Set the ripple quantity to 3 by using the 3 key on the UFC, followed by the ripple quantity rotary on OSB 8. Press OSB 3 to save the profile changes.
What?
Let's now bring up the TAD page for takeoff. We are now ready to proceed with the flight. Takeoff runway heading for waypoint 2. Climb to 6,000 feet.
6,000. Oh, Becky. Flaps. Flaps. You ready? Oh. Whoa! Control F.
Maintain 180 knots in the climb.
I need to be 180, landing at 6,000 feet. Going to waypoint 1.
Let's set the master arm and gun pack switches on the AHCP to arm. Be ready for a slight stick forward input from the flight control system as precision attitude control is engaged. Pack will help keep the aircraft stable when the first stage of the trigger is depressed. This will help minimize pitch and yaw moments during cannon fire and achieve a tighter shot grouping around the gun pipper. Level off at 6,000 feet and maintain max engine power for waypoint 2.
Oh, waypoint 2. Feet. Come on, get up there! Tumble bolts.
Autopilot is on. Let's review the HUD indications relevant to gun employment. If not currently set, make sure the HUD is in guns mode by pressing the HOTAS master mode button or M key on the keyboard. The gun bore line cross is displayed above the center of the HUD. This cross represents the longitudinal axis of the gun. You may have to turn slightly off course to see the TBL cross. The gun ammo type and amount remaining are displayed in the data block of the left corner of the HUD. This currently indicates CM1150 for 1,150 rounds of combat mix.
Oh, I'm gonna use it all.
The A10C features 4 air-to-ground gun sight reticle options. The default and most informative reticle is the CCIP gun reticle, currently displayed on the HUD. Press the numpad asterisk key to zoom in on the HUD for a closer view of the gun sight. The main features of the CCIP gun reticle are the pipper dot in the center of the reticle and the unwinding range bar around the circumference. The 4 hash marks at the 12, 3, 6, and 9 o'clock positions reference the slant range to the target in thousands of feet. When in range, the range bar unwinds counterclockwise. For example, if the range bar is at the bottom of the reticle, the slant range in feet is 6,000. The CCIP gun reticle also features a numerical indication of the slant range to target in nautical miles below the reticle. Finally, 2 moving target index marks inside the reticle indicate the aiming lead required for a moving target traveling at 20 knots in a perpendicular direction to the pipper line of sight. These are currently latched to the outside limit of the reticle at 3 and 9 o'clock positions due to the high slant range. Set your steer point for waypoint 3 and let's head back inland. I'm going to disengage the autopilot so you can make the turn.
Waypoint 3.
Warning, autopilot.
Autopilot is off. You have control.
Oh.
Autopilot is on. Make sure the HUD is set as SOA using the HOTAS CUI head up command or U on the keyboard. Press the HOTAS DMS right command or page down on the keyboard to switch the gun sight to the CCIP gun cross.
What?
The CCIP gun cross is a more compact version of the CCIP gun reticle. It provides the same aim accuracy, but is less obtrusive on the HUD and does not include the moving target index marks. Press the HOTAS DMS right command or page down on the keyboard again to select the 4A12 gun reticle. The 4A12 gun reticle is a degraded version of the CCIP gun reticle. It provides 3 impact point pippers inside the reticle for the preset ranges of 4,000, 8,000, and 12,000 feet. Normally, you would only use this gun sight if accurate target elevation data was not available for a CCIP solution. Press the HOTAS DMS right command or page down on the keyboard to select the 4,000 foot gun cross sight. The 4,000 foot gun cross presets a gun solution for a range of 4,000 feet. Once again, this would normally be used only in cases of inaccurate target elevation data preventing a CCIP solution. All gun sights will indicate a minimum range Q as a triangular index to the right of the reticle when you are within 5 seconds of the minimum altitude set in the FC 30mm menu. If you recall, we set this to 500 feet. The MRC will appear on level with the top of the reticle when you are within 5 seconds of the minimum altitude and move down to be on level with the bottom of the reticle when you are 5 seconds below the minimum altitude. Press the HOTAS DMS right command or page down on the keyboard again to return to the CCIP gun reticle. Let's bring up CCIP mode to review HUD indication used for unguided rockets. Press the HOTAS Master Mode button once or the M key on the keyboard. Press the HOTAS DMS right command or page down on the keyboard to select rockets as the active profile. The rocket CCIP reticle is very similar to the CCIP gun reticle. except it will not utilize the moving target index marks. An RKT indication is added to the bottom of the reticle to identify this as a rocket site. When employing rockets, the HUD continues to display a gun solution using a CCIP gun cross sight. This allows you to quickly follow a rocket attack with a gun strafe in the same pass. Additional indication on the HUD when using rockets includes the time of fall numeric at the top of the data block in the bottom left corner of the HUD. This currently reads 20 for 20 seconds. Set your steer point for waypoint 4 and let's turn toward the range. I'm going to disengage the autopilot so you can make the turn. Autopilot is off. You have control.
Here we go, here we go.
1.4 is set up over the gunfire. Your targets will be marked with smoke markers for each pass.
I've been flying with my gear down the whole time. That's awesome. Oh, shit. What? Son of a bitch. Yeah, it fucking flies better. Shit. Oh, man.
As we approach the range, bring up the DSMS page on the left MFCD by pressing OSB 14. Your first target will be a group of stationary trucks set up for a rocket pass on the southwest corner of the range array. The target is now marked with red smoke and you are cleared hot. Press OSB 8 and 18 to deselect the stations from the active profile in case you need a second try.
Altitude. Pull up. Pull up.
As you approach to within 4 nautical miles, reduce power and begin to dive toward the target. The range bar will begin to unwind as you fly within weapons range. Keep the pepper on the target and open fire when within 2 nautical miles. Press and hold the trigger to fire the entire ripple quantity. Do not target fixate. As soon as the attack is complete, pull up and away from the target toward the water and climb to regain altitude. Good hits on those targets. Come off the target to the west toward the water and climb to 3,000 feet. We'll do a gun pass next.
Head west. I think I'm going west.
Switch to guns mode by pressing the HOTAS master mode button or the M key on the keyboard. Target 2 will be a group of stationary APCs on the northeast corner of the range array. The target is now marked with red smoke. Roll in on the target and strike down upon it with great vengeance and furious anger.
Yep. That wasn't a good off. Overdue.
Good hits on those targets. Climb to 3,000 feet for a final gun pass against
Altitude,
the moving target.
altitude.
Fucking moving targets?
Your final target will be a group of 2 vehicles. The target is moving clockwise around the target array. Target position now marked with red smoke. Cleared hot. Good hits on those targets. Climb
Pull
out
up,
to
pull
3,000
up.
feet and level out.
Altitude, altitude.
Rockets can also be employed in CCRP mode by designating a SPI over the target using the HUD TDC, the TAD cursor, or the TGP. This would allow you to engage from a longer range or even employ a lofting trajectory to reach targets at longer range, but the accuracy of such an attack will be diminished significantly. We'll try using CCRP mode with freefall and precision-guided munitions instead. This concludes the training lesson on the use of the gun and unguided rockets against stationary and moving ground targets.
Pull up, pull up. Altitude, altitude. Pull up, pull up. Altitude, altitude.
Boom.